Hello, everyone. Thank you for listening and watching the Football Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Pipkin, joined by my co host, as ever, Tom Walker. This is your home for tips, insight, and discussion on English football's top four leagues. A bit of a different show up for you today. We're going to go through League One and League Two because we don't have Premier League games and we don't have Championship games because of the international break. And we're going to do a Premier League state of play. So I'm excited to dive into this particular show, Tom.
Yeah, we are making something of not a lot of what we've been given, but yeah, it's going to be really fun to just kind of overview. Most Premier League teams have played 6 games now, so we'll have a little look at that. A decent helping of League One and League Two. I mean, we're pretty hot on League Two at the moment, betting wise, and it's worked out that that's the only league that's going full tilt this weekend. So. Should be a unique and exciting show, I think.
Yeah, as ever, we are sponsored by matchbook.com, and we'll tell you a little bit later on in the show how you can get yourself a £30 money back as a free bet sign up offer. So do stay tuned for that one. And all odds we're going to read out on the show today will be taken from Matchbook. So the first 15 or so minutes, we're going to look through our Prem state of play, going to talk through, the current leaders, who's doing well, the top four, the team struggling, etc. And then after that, we'll have a look through League One and League Two tips and bring you a treble for this week. So Tom, we'll start right at the top, shall we, of the Premier League. Arsenal and Manchester City and Spurs. So Arsenal currently on 18 points, Man City on 17, Tottenham also on 17. Despite Arsenal and Spurs starting well, for me, and interested to hear your thoughts, it's looking pretty inevitable, I think, that Man City will win the league this year at a canter.
Yeah, massively. I think, credit to Arsenal and Tottenham. I really hope that they push Man City all the way. And I'd actually love it if one of them did win the league. But let's be honest here. We are dealing with an absolute footballing freak in Man City. They've got the most money. They've got the best manager. They've got the best players. They've evolved from last season. There's now a new threat in Erling Haaland, who has taken the Premier League for a ride, basically. Loving what Arsenal and Tottenham are doing, and long may it continue. But City, I think the cream will rise to the top. In terms of Arsenal and Tottenham, I suppose, just want to see how they fare in those big games against each other. I know Liverpool and Chelsea are a bit further down than where they'd like to be at the moment, but games against those, Man City, home and away, I just want to see how that all plays out, essentially. Really excited how the top of the table started.
Yeah, because I suppose, look at Arsenal, 6 wins from 7 games. If we're being a bit critical of Arsenal, we could say that their opening run of fixtures has been fairly kind. The one loss they've got in there is against Manchester United. And the games they've got coming up now over the next few weeks in the run up to the World Cup, I think will be really interesting for the reasons you mentioned. They've got to play Spurs, they've got to play Liverpool, they've got to play the mighty Nottingham Forest, they've got to play Chelsea. So they've got some tough games, over the next 6-7 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see, because that's what we want to see from Arsenal, isn't it? We want to see them go to the next level and start to beat more consistently teams at the top of the Premier League. And we're talking that, the classical top 6 teams there, because already this season they've come up against one and they've lost one. So, we just need to see them take that step, because we know they're good at beating the lower and mid-table Prem teams. They do it for breakfast, don't they? But that'll be interesting.
Yeah, really excited to see how that plays out, mate. And then moving into the Champions League race, and kind of it feels like a bit of a disconnect. It's only 4 points, but it feels like a bit of a disconnect to me between Tottenham and, we've got Brighton in 4th, Man U, Fulham, Chelsea, Liverpool, obviously it's really early, and in the case of Man United, Chelsea, and Liverpool, they've only played 6 games. Who do you see? Do you see Arsenal, Man City, and Tottenham finishing in the top 4? And then, if so, who do you see joining them? Because if Arsenal and Tottenham can continue this, I think most people had one of them, if not both of them, missing out. And if they're both going to be
Mm.
in, that means that we're going to have a top 4 without maybe Liverpool, Chelsea, or Man U.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think they can continue it. I don't see why not. Certainly don't see why not. There's a lot more stability in Arsenal and Spurs than there currently is at Chelsea and Liverpool. I feel like I know what I'm going to get from both of those sides week in, week out, more so than Chelsea and Liverpool. If you put me on the spot and say who could I see missing out, oh, it's tough, isn't it? It's really tough.
really tough.
The thing is with Liverpool, because they've been so good for a number of years now, I always feel like they're going to turn it around and they're going to come good and they'll string about 6, 7, 8 wins together at some stage of the season. Chelsea, I don't know. Are they lacking that focal point up front? Aubameyang, for me, not the best signing. Is he the answer to the goals that they need? I really want Chelsea to succeed, mainly because of the Graham Potter factor. But I don't know if that's kind of clouding my judgment of them. And then Manchester United, they've looked good in the last 4 games. Ten Hag's implementing his style of play. His players that they brought into the club are starting to play well, and for once they're looking up. I don't know, mate. You could make a case for any three of them, to be honest, to
Yeah,
take
I
that
mean, for
remaining
me,
spot.
I think Chelsea are the ones that will miss out. And I hope that doesn't harm Graham Potter, because I'm same as you. Obviously, I want a young English manager in charge of a super club to do well. I just feel like they are the most all over the place, both on and off the pitch. I'd love to see what a Potter team is going to look like, but you know, a lot of the signings don't really make sense to me. And can he work it into a fluid machine? Not 100% sure. Man United, looking good recently for sure. With Casemiro to step in and really kind of cement a place in that team. Obviously, he's been on the fringes initially. Anthony as well. How good will he be? We're not 100% sure. And United's clearly. I mean, the headlines are Maguire and Ronaldo out and results improve, and Luke Shaw, sorry, results improve. Is that sustainable? We've seen United blow up time and time again. And Liverpool, I haven't seen, I mean, I was going to say I haven't seen Liverpool play this bad in a while, but it was actually only a couple of seasons ago, wasn't it? Where they had all those injuries and they were a shadow of the side under Klopp. They looked very unlikely to me at the moment. I'd honestly probably go for United at this point to finish fourth, but who knows? Okay, Tom, couple of surprise packages then. Tell me how you see the future of the following teams and whether you think they'll continue to trend upwards and threaten those European spots, or if you think that they might fade away a bit. So we've got Fulham in 6th. We've got Brighton in 4th, as I mentioned, and we've got Brentford in 9th. So I just want to focus on those 3 teams at the moment. And, I don't know if you want to take one and pass it along. But yeah, just want to focus on the 3 overachievers without being rude.
Yeah. Brighton, for me, bit of an anomaly, isn't it? Because their manager I know next to nothing about. Roberto De Zerbi, if I pronounce that correctly.
Think so.
Yeah, coming in from a time at Sassuolo in Serie A and Shakhtar. Seems like he's been brought in because the way he plays, his style of football, his management style is kind of similar to Graham Potter's. So it looks like the Brighton hierarchy have gone for continuity there, really. So in the hope that he can more seamlessly slot in and things can continue the way they're going. If he can do that, Brighton definitely for me look good to finish in the top 8, 9, 10. Fulham, I think they've been very impressive so far. I don't think they'll finish in the top 10 once it's all shaken out and we come towards the end of the season. Certainly don't think they're going to go down. But yeah, if they finish higher than kind of 11th, 12th, I'll be surprised. I worry about them if they get an injury to Mitrovic. I feel like so much goes through him. And I know they scored 3 against Forest, and none of them were Mitrovic, but by and large, he's a talisman. He's the one they look to get goals. And if he got an injury, then I'd worry for them on the goal scoring perspective. And then Brentford, yeah, I think if they finish top 10, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I agree. Brentford for me are, of the three, the most likely to finish in that top 10. Obviously, they've got an England international now up front, Ivan Toney, who I rave about every single week. He's got a great support cast and a solid backline to build on. Thomas Frank. So yeah, I think Brentford home and away will give a lot of teams issues. They are the fourth top goal scorers in the league with 15 goals. So clearly, they know where the back of the net is and they can do some damage. And we saw last season and this season with obviously United game, they relish those big games. Kind of reminds me of Wolves a couple of seasons back where they had a really decent competitive record against those top 6 sides. And that's how I see Brentford as well, which is only going to help them out. I echo what you say with Brighton. I think they've got a really good team still. And I have zero reason to think this manager won't be good. I trust the process at Brighton. I think they recruit managers and they recruit players to fit a style of play that should be pretty seamless, whether the manager is, manager A, B, or C. It shouldn't matter too much. But of course, we'll see. And then Fulham, yeah, Tom, I get what you're saying. My only issue is, and obviously I've done a little bit of research here, they got the second worst XG against so far this season. They're outperforming it quite drastically by almost 3 goals. It's only better than Nottingham Forest's, who obviously everyone know are struggling at the moment. In terms of goals in the back of the net, if you're not like a XG person, totally understand. It's 11 conceded, so it's pretty middle packish. For context, it's actually the same amount as Brighton in 4th position, but I'd like to see them straighten out those numbers a little bit. And yeah, Tom, I mean, they're a newly promoted side. Of course, they're going to rely on a couple of individuals for that extra zip. I think Mitro and Paulinho as well look really, really promising. And Tim Ream as well. Honestly, Tim Ream was not somebody I thought could hack it at this level. I thought it'd be one of the worst kind of starters in the league, to be honest with you. But he's been brilliant so far. So put him in that category.
Yeah. Quickly touch on Newcastle. How do we spin Newcastle's season so far? So they've played 7. They're in 10th position. Won 1. That was on opening day against Forest. Drew 5 and lost 1. So are we positive because they're not losing many games, or should they be concerned that they're not winning many games?
I'm not sure. I think they should just be happy where they are, to be honest. This is a first, let's remember, they had Steve Bruce in charge, I think, this time last season, right? So
Yeah,
fighting
yeah.
relegation and, it might not be the most exciting season ever, but I think a season of building slowly and finishing mid-table and, you know, getting the occasional, not scalp, but they've shown in that Man City game, right, that they can mix it with the best on their day. And, I think as long as the Newcastle fans have a bit of a vision that this team could go on and win more games than they lose, I think they'll be happy, and I think they'll finish. I can't see them dropping below 10th or going above 9th. to be honest.
Okay. How about the kind of middle of the pack then? Because we've got a few teams who were in pre-season tipped to potentially be relegated. So we've got Leeds in 11th, Bournemouth in 12th, and Everton in 13th. And we could also, I guess, throw Southampton in there in 14th.
Hmm.
They'll all be pretty happy, I think, with their starts to the season, especially teams like Bournemouth. Do you think it's sustainable?
Uh, I see Bournemouth eventually slipping, just personally, into the dogfight and being absolutely in the thick of it. To be
Hmm.
honest with you, Leeds, I have been impressed with them. Rodrigo is not somebody I have a lot of faith in. I've said it on the pod numerous times. I think he's a purple patch player. I know fantasy managers were jumping on the back of him when he was on his run before he got injured. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he didn't score again this season. And then you're looking at attacking midfielders to chip in. Patrick Bamford trying to get back to his form. I see Leeds slipping a little bit, to be honest with you, and Southampton same again. I see them still being vulnerable with the amount of young players they brought in. Of course, some of them have really hit the ground running, and they're certainly doing a little bit better than people expected. But it's a long, hard season. There's the World Cup. Let's say they lose 4 or 5 in a row. How's that young team going to deal with that? Are their heads going to go down? There's only a couple of real proper pros in there, like Ward Prowse and Romeu, etc., etc. I do worry about them a little bit. How do you see Everton, Villa, Palace? I'll give you those three teams.
Everton, I think they'll be all right, to be honest. I had them, I believe, uh, as my 18th place relegation pick, I think, in the pre-season prediction pod. I think I'm probably going to be wrong on that.
They're another team that's won one game out of 7.
Yeah, yeah, they've won one game out of 7, but yeah, unbeaten in 5. They've only scored 5 goals, but then again, they've only conceded 6. So it's not exactly great entertainment on the at Goodison Park, is it? But the centre back partnership with Tarkovsky and Cody, I think, gives them a lot more stability at the back and strength at the back than they had last season. I think they'll be all right. They'll just accumulate draws, the odd scrappy 1 goal win here and there. They'll lose a few along the way, but I think they'll be all right. Um, Villa, can't see Gerard lasting too much longer. If their
Agreed.
poor form continues, I think if he loses the next 2 or 3 games, we could well see him get the sack and a new manager be brought in just before the World Cup. Um, and then Palace, to see them down in 16th is a bit. I thought they're a bit harder than that. I think is what I'm trying to say. I think they're putting some decent performances so far this season. I like the team, the players, the manager. I think they'll be fine. But yeah, they just haven't got just lacking a couple of wins. They've played a game less than a lot of other teams. So I think if they got a win in that game in hand, they'd shoot up to kind of ninth, 10th, 11th, and things would be looking up for them. I think they'll be fine.
Yep. And then Wolves nestled in at 17th, I think, under 2.5 favourites all season. I think
Yeah.
they will be. And that's for sure. I mean, goals for, they've only scored 3 all season. It's the joint lowest with the team below them in West Ham. But I couldn't see those two teams' fortunes being any opposite, to be honest. I think Wolves will hover around this 15th to 20th pretty much all season. And I think West Ham, whether it's under Moyes or whether it's somebody else, packed with quality. I mean,
Yeah.
Skamaka's a bit of an issue. Antonio, how long can they rely on him to bang in the goals? But enough quality in Fornals and Bowen and Ben Rama, Paqueta now. West Ham
Yeah.
will rise nicely, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. It'd be interesting to see how many managerial changes we get over the next few weeks because I think the World Cup is that break that we're going to get is a good time really to, if you're going to break with a manager, do it around the time of the World Cup, isn't it? So they've got that period of settling in, albeit probably with a reduced amount of players to work with on the training ground because of World Cup duties. But yeah, you're looking at Bournemouth will get a new manager in, Villa potentially, West Ham potentially, Forest potentially, Leicester potentially. It'd be interesting to see how many do make that change.
Mm. Yeah.
Then yeah, let's talk about Forest. I know we're in 19th, but I'm still feeling pretty confident, to be honest. I think we said, didn't we, at the start of this season in our preview pod that for Forest it's going to be a season of two halves because we signed so many new players, which we had to do. It's going to take a number of weeks to try them out for Steve Cooper to find his best 11, to find the best formation that suits the 11. And yeah, he's learning on the job, and we're losing games as it goes by. But the World Cup is going to be a fantastic break for him to work with the players and sort it out, like a second pre-season almost. And then second half of the season, I feel like we can really kick on. I think the key for Forest is to not get too detached by the time the World Cup starts.
You don't want to be too detached, and I think you still want Steve Cooper in charge.
Yeah,
You know, Marinakis, obviously joint owner with Olympiacos as well, sacked Carlos Corberán after 6 weeks. Wasn't happy. Obviously, the expectations at Olympiacos are to win the league every single year and be in Champions League, and they failed in their qualification process for the Champions League. But this guy's ruthless. He is, and he spent a lot of money on this project. I'm hoping Steve can survive, but you have to be worried about the fact that against Everton they took the lead, conceded almost immediately. Surrendered a lead against Bournemouth, surrendered a lead against Fulham. That was 3 goals in 6 minutes for Fulham. It just that seems the players are a bit nervous and maybe a bit scared and maybe a bit, oh God, here we go again. That's not easy to turn around. I'm really not sure what to think about Forest at the moment. One minute, one day I wake up and I think I can't see 3 teams worse than Forest in the league that I can confidently say will finish below them. And then other days I think the same as you, mate. There's time, believe in the manager, good players, etc., and I think everything's going to be fine. So, yeah, not sure on that one. And Leicester, Tom, Leicester are interesting because they've got players like James Maddison, Yuri Tillemans, name any other of their, international stars, NDD, Iheanacho, etc. But they have real issues in terms of the fans feeling very detached from the club, and they're feeling, they didn't invest in the summer at all, obviously. Danny Ward in goal clearly isn't good enough. He's getting a lot of stick at the moment. That seems like a bit more of an upset camp as opposed to the rest of the bottom 3, Forest and West Ham. I mean, obviously West Ham, they should be absolutely furious, but you don't really get that sense from them. The fact they've won 1 in 7 and they're third bottom, you get the sense that they've got faith in Moyes and they think it will turn around, but not the same at Leicester.
No, well, it's clear to see where the issue is, really, isn't it? Defensively, like you're mentioning, 22 goals conceded in just 7 games. It's over 3 goals a game, and yeah, it's just so bad. And I feel like it's been like that for a while. Like last season on the pod, we were week in, week out going against Leicester or mentioning how bad Leicester were at the back, but capable of scoring goals. I think the positive for Leicester, they can score goals, and goals are what's going to win you games, obviously. So if you can sort out the defensive side, then you have the players and the capability to certainly score goals and win games and move up the league. I feel like if they lose the next game to Forest, Rodgers will probably be gone, and then
Yeah,
they can have a clean
absolutely.
break. and start again with a new manager who will hopefully turn the fortunes around.
The one thing I will say in Leicester's defence is they have conceded 22 goals. Their XG says that they should have conceded 12.75. That is a
Bloody
massive, massive difference. 9.25 goals worse off, which, that can be down to many things. Wonder goals, slices of luck, individual mistakes. Like, that could be a lot of. But in terms of getting absolutely carved open, and absolutely, put to the sword, their XG is better off than Fulham's, who are currently in sixth. So if you believe in the numbers, they're not doing that much wrong at the back. Whereas you look at Forest 13.92, their XG, there's big issues there. Of course, as a caveat, Forest have played Man City away and lost 6-0. Not everyone has played Man City away, but you get my point. The numbers don't reflect what's going on at the back for Leicester, so you hope, if you're a Foxes fan or if you're a Foxes backer, that will even itself out.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so that is a little roundup.
Just want a quick word on Matchbook. So as Tom mentioned, we're going to now move into the tips, which is the regular part of the show. I hope you enjoyed that little segment. It filled 20 plus minutes or so of content for the Premier League fans who listen in. But this will be kind of reverting back to type now and going through League One and League Two. And before we do so, it's important to remind you guys that Matchbook have an exclusive offer on at the moment. So TFB Podcast is your promo code. TFB Podcast. When you sign up for a new account, you can get up to 30 quid back as a free bet on your first bet. So, for example, let's look at Forest Green Exeter here. You fancy Exeter to get the win on the road. You put your money down on Exeter to win. Forest Green beat them 2-1. Not in a normal case scenario. Obviously, you'd lose your money there. But you get that money back as a free bet to reinvest in something else if you wish to do so. So, please support Matchbook and the pod with that promo code FTFB Podcast, as in the Football Betting Podcast.
Yeah, cool. Right, let's dive into what everybody who likes the EFL has probably been waiting for. Some tips for League One and League Two. So I'll get this kicked off with one in League One. So we're pretty thin on the ground in this particular league. There's only 7 games. So I'm going to go for Barnsley and Charlton, and this game to be both teams to score. 1.73 is the price for that. A lot of this is kind of leaning from a Charlton perspective. So Charlton have only kept a clean sheet in one game so far in the league this season, and that was on the 6th of August at home to Derby. Other than that, they've conceded in every game since, but they have had both teams to score in 7 of their 9 games played so far this season. Head-to-heads between Barnsley and Charlton have also seen 5 of the last 6 games be both teams to score. So there's a lot of history in this fixture recently that suggests it can go the same way again. And on those 2 factors, I'm going to go for another both teams to score here. Barnsley I find a bit unpredictable. They could concede 3 or score 3.
100%. I'm still learning about them, to be honest with you. So I actually used the example, Tom, of Exeter beating Forest Green when I was talking about the Matchbook promo. And I think I got it a bit mixed up because I wanted to tip up Forest Green, to be honest. So anyway, whatever. Maybe Exeter will win. Who knows? But we are looking at Forest Green in 22nd to beat Exeter, who are in 15th. It's still a bit early to draw on those league table spots, but I like reading them out anyway. I think we're going to be back in Forest Green, Tom. In terms of home form, it's not been pretty, to be honest, for Forest Green. It's just the 1 win from 5, but Exeter have also failed to win in 4 on the road. I think Exeter, I think they've been good, but I am very concerned over their last 3 results. So they beat MK Dons, who were struggling 1-0, by all accounts, pretty poor. lost away to Shrewsbury 3-2, conceding 3 to Shrewsbury at the moment. Not the best look. And then Dino Manria, Tom, our old friend Dino, hench
Yes,
Dino.
hence Dino.
Yeah. Have you seen what he's been saying, by the way?
Entering World's Strongest Man.
Well, he was asked about being a manager, and because everyone thought it was an interim role, and Dino said, "I am the manager, full time. Like, it's my gig." And everyone was like, "Well, the statement was like current boss or like temporary boss or something at the moment or something like that." And Dino said, and I dread to think how this chat went, he basically told him off and said, "Yeah, I had a word with whoever wrote that. That's wrong. I'm the manager." But we haven't had like a press release or anything.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on there. Anyway, Dino's Burton, whether he's manager or not, beat Exeter. So I'm a bit concerned about that. And then I look at Forest Green on the flip side, their last 3. Beat Accrington at home. I like that. That's good. Drew away to Charlton. I like Charlton this season. I think they're all right. They lost at home to Morecambe 2-1. Not overly pleased with that result. But I think Forest Green has shown enough in the last few weeks to be worth backing. And also, I do absolutely love the price. Have you seen the price?
Looking at it now, yeah.
3.05. 3.
Yeah.
It is the early kickoff, I will add, in League One. It's live on TV. 3.05. Like, I will be lapping that up because, in my mind, over the last 3, FGR's level has been way above Exeter's.
Yeah, well, maybe the early kickoff curse will play into your favour in this particular instance then, because Forest Green are the outsiders, even though they're at home and they're playing pretty well.
Yeah.
The early kickoff curse will ruin the backers of the favourites, which is Exeter.
Lovely.
I've only got one more for League One because, like we say, we don't have much, and it's one that you're not going to like, I don't think. I'm going to put out Peterborough at 1.86 at home to Port Vale. I can see your face.
Yeah, no, I'm not having it. I'm not. But carry on.
For anybody not watching on video, the face is one of disapproval.
It's described as disgruntled.
I just believe that Peterborough's squad and the team, especially the starting 11, the forwards they get on the pitch, the attacking talent they've got, it's too good to not come good before long. They've lost 6 in a row prior to beating Tottenham under 21s 3-0 at home in the Pizza Cup in midweek. I just think, we've seen in their home league games so far this season, they've won 3-0, 2-0, 4-0, and lost 1-0 most recently to Fleetwood. So if that 3-0 win in midweek, where Grant McCann played a pretty much full strength squad to try and get a bit of confidence back into the team, hopefully that's done its job because they won pretty comfortably. If they're at it, they're 100% beats Port Vale's 100% every day of the week for me, especially Peterborough being at home. So I'm confident, semi-confident, that they can get back on the wagon this weekend and get on get another 3 points on the board. If it was away from home, I wouldn't be tipping Peterborough whatsoever. But because it's at home, I feel a lot more confident in them. They can find some form again. Go on.
I'm just alarmed at the performance levels. It's not the losses. Obviously, the losses are not good, but the performance levels from Peterborough, they're miles off it. Miles off it. Like night and day from the start of the season when we were backing them and absolutely loving it. So, people are going to wake up one morning and, click back into gear? Maybe. But I don't know. I need to see how they're going to navigate this game against a sticky Port Vale team. Like, I know you haven't been disrespectful, but, let's not be disrespectful to Port Vale. They're sticky. They give people a game. So, yeah, just not ready to back them yet.
No, that's fair enough, mate.
I'll tell you what I am ready to back, though, and that is Bristol Rovers, Accrington Stanley, both teams to score. It's mainly Bristol Rovers, Tom, to be honest with you. 7 games since their last clean sheet. And obviously, this has gathered some momentum and some headlines because they lost 6-3 at home to Lincoln in their last match day. Just out of those 7 games, Tom, they've conceded more than 1 in 5 of them. So a huge issue for Joey Barton and Bristol Rovers at the moment. And then Aki Stanley, just capable of scoring goals. Like nothing leaping off the page in terms of, they're not the top scorers in the league or they haven't slapped anyone, 5-6-0 recently. But just middle of the road, good, average XG, average goal scoring form. They've done well. Sean McConville, evergreen, getting their last goal. I actually genuinely forgot that he was still playing, to be honest with you. 1.64 is the price for both teams to score. Obviously, it's a little short compared to my last tip at 3.05, but fancy it just exactly the same.
Yeah, I like that, mate. Any more in League One for you? Or shall we move to League Two?
Currently, price unavailable, but I did flirt with Plymouth Ipswich under 2.5. Plymouth haven't conceded at home yet this season. They're the last team in the top 4 professional English divisions to do so. In terms of clean sheets, both have kept 5 clean sheets, 55% of their games this season. In terms of conceding at least 1 goal, the numbers are pretty good as well. Ipswich unbeaten all season. I think it will be a tight, cagey affair, and one I'm actually really looking forward to.
Yeah. Right, so moving into League Two then, I'll get us kicked off with the old favourites, Northampton Town. They're at home to Stockport County. Northampton priced fairly decently, I'd say. They're 2.38 for the victory at home. This is a Northampton side who have played 5 home games in the league, and they've won 4 of them. And in those wins, they've scored 3 goals on 3 occasions. Stockport, on the other hand, just still struggling, aren't they? They've lost all 4 away games they've played so far this season. They have also lost all 4 with both teams scoring. So that could be another angle to look into here. Either the both teams to score or Northampton to win and both teams to score. They've lost away to Stevenage, Doncaster, Mansfield and Crawley. So I'd say aside from Crawley, they've played some fairly tough sides so far in the early stages of this league. But another tough game ahead at Northampton, and nothing that their away form has done so far this season lends me to think that they're going to start turning their season around this weekend.
Yep, I'm into it, mate. I think Northampton are one of the most standout bets that we've got available to us for this weekend. But the most standout for me is Bradford City. They are at home to AFC Wimbledon. The Bantams.
Tom,
Hey?
is this the year? Is this the year?
It is the year. I'm telling you now. It is the year. 1.78 the Bantams are priced at. Tom, I just want to read something out to you, and I'm going to credit the source. So this is from a Twitter account called @LowerTiers. LOWERTIERS. We as the pod, we follow them. Great stuff. Really good statistical EFL graphics that are really nice. So I'm going to read you out a list of the top 4 minutes per league goal in Europe. This is all of the top 5 English leagues and the EFL. They have to have scored 6 goals or more. Top is Erling Haaland. I don't know if you've heard of him. 52 minutes per goal. The next is somebody called Robert Lewandowski with 56 minutes per goal. In 4th, so I've skipped a spot, is Neymar Jr. of Paris Saint-Germain with 77 minutes per goal. Lodged in 3rd is Andy Cook of Bradford City.
Andy.
67 minutes per goal. Andy Cook has a better strike record than Kylian Mbappe at the moment. And then a couple of names who I'm not familiar with, Betis and obviously top of the Bundesliga, Union Berlin. But my point is, he's got 8 in 9. Is it sustainable? No, probably not. But it does give you, you want to be with that guy rather than against him. Let's be honest. Bradford won 4 in a row. They've won 3 and drew 2 and lost 0 at home this season. I'm just really impressed. Their last 3 results overall and their last 2 home results. So they beat Walsall at home 2-1. Tom, I think me and you kind of like Walsall this season. They're competitive. They beat Tranmere 2-1 away. Tranmere are transitional in terms of their approach this season, but decent. And they beat Stevenage, Tom, who we're really hot on, 3-0 at home, men against boys, by all accounts. And Wimbledon, just that one win on the road out of 5. They look like Bradford looked like the hungry lion, and Wimbledon looked like the limping gazelle to me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I can definitely see that one coming in. I had that one written down myself. Didn't think it was too bad of a price either for Bradford, because we've seen some teams already this season be pretty short in League Two. We're talking 1.5s, 1.6s, so just under 1.8 for Bradford isn't too bad.
Some of the Stockport prices at the start of the season.
Absolute joke.
Yeah, mad.
Yeah, joke. And we're still seeing some of the after effects of that now, because what did I say? Northampton 2.38, I think I said.
Yeah.
And that's a generous price for Northampton, but
Agreed.
it's because they're playing Stockport. But yeah, we'll carry on profiting on that one anyway. But yeah, I like that Bradford price and tip. Just one more for me to round up my tips for this weekend. It is Stevenage at home to Harrogate. Pretty obvious one for me here. Stevenage, this is going back to last season. They've won 7 league games at home on the spin now. So they're creating quite the fortress at home. They're already doing very well this season as it is. They're in 4th place in the league. They've won 6 out of their 9 games. And I could see them getting another victory this weekend. Sorry. Price at 1.62 at home to Harrogate. So, yeah. Harrogate struggling. They're in 19th. 6 out of their 9 games, they've failed to get on the score sheet. So they're having a pretty poor season. No wins in the last 6. So I think this is a tough place to go, as those stats confirm. And yeah, the price reflects that, really. Stevenage should get another victory. It'll probably be 2-0 against a struggling Harrogate side.
Yeah, huge on that one. And then the only one that I flirted with, I'm not going to read it out, I think I've bottled it, was Mansfield away at Crewe. I really did like the look of Mansfield. I didn't quite realise how decent Crewe were at home. Quite low margin stuff from them, to be honest with you. But, 3 wins in 5 and a draw means they've only lost 1 at Gretzky Road this season. Obviously, Courtney Baker-Richardson getting a lot of plaudits this season with 5 in 9. And Daniel Adji finally looking like he's found a home with 3 in 9 himself. They're looking potent. I wouldn't be surprised if Mansfield won this game. I think they're the better team, and I think they'll go on and achieve more. And their manager's better, and yeah, everything points towards Mansfield. But I didn't quite realise how good Crewe were at home, so I tried to make the sensible decision, Tom, of leaving that one behind.
I do like that one. Wouldn't surprise me if Mansfield won. And according to our friends at Odd Alerts, who also do sponsor the podcast, Mansfield are classed as a value bet. So the odds that the bookies are offering for Mansfield compared to what the Odd Alerts algorithms say the true odds should actually be, based on performances, statistics, whatever the models calculated upon. Yeah, Mansfield are a good value bet for this weekend.
Fortune favours the brave.
Yeah.
But please gamble responsibly.
Right, that's that then, is it? So we'll recap last week's treble and give you this week's treble.
Yeah, last week's was absolutely agonizing, to be honest with you. Like one of the harder losses to take this season. Um,
Mm.
yeah, we had Leighton Orient against Walsall. They got the job done. They won 1-0. We had Northampton Town against Rochdale. That one was as straightforward as we thought it would be, with a 3-0. And then Tranmere uh, rocked up to Salford, won 1-0. Salford hit the post. But to be honest with you, probably didn't deserve to win. I'd say a draw might have been fair. That might be harsh on Tranmere. Tranmere had barely any ball, barely any territory, and all that good stuff. But when you watch the highlights, it's Tranmere with the big chances. So fair play to them. They won 1-0. They scuppered the pod treble. And we're looking out for revenge, huh, Tom?
Yeah, scrambling for revenge. I think it's been a tough old start for the season
It has.
in terms of trebles, hasn't it? It's been it's been our toughest start I think we've ever had in about 5 years of the
But we're
pod.
having fun.
We are having fun, and that's why we say gamble responsibly. These are just our three picks. We don't go staking stupid amounts on these, please.
No, no.
Keep it fun. So for this week's one, hopefully this is the week. I know you keep putting a tweet out saying this is the week.
Every week.
This is the week. It gets to the point where it's so bad you just got to kind of just laugh at, how we keep corrupting and cursing one team. It seems to be every single week.
Yeah, I'm going to start as a Forest fan. I'm just going to start putting Derby in the treble every week so they lose.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to go for tried and trusted Northampton at home to Stockport. Then we're going to go for Bradford at home to AFC Wimbledon, and also Stevenage at home to Harrogate. Current best odds on this treble are found at 7.41. So it's a pretty tasty treble again this weekend in terms of odds, all taken from League Two. All home sides, literally all the sides that we've picked for this treble occupy three of the top five spots in League Two. So
this is the week.
surely this is the
This
week.
is the week. This is the week.
Come on.
Well,
Come on.
this is also the week that we can recap fantasy football for the first time in two shows. So obviously not a full slate of Premier League football, but points were, well, by some people, points were made. Do you remember when I was, where was I? 11th. I won in the top 10. I'm now 266th. So
Wow, you've had a fall from grace.
yeah, my head hurts. Where are you?
200th.
Yeah. So not great. Not great from the pair of us, to be honest with you. Teams in the league, 316. So,
That's great.
Yeah, so that makes me feel a bit better. Top 10, Warrant, reverse order, I must add. Warren Torch, Michael Tomlinson, George Keogh, Shane Ryan, Sammy Walton, Daniel O'Reilly, Dennis Sheehy, Toby Miranda, Dan Pinsker, and Sean Kinsella. Sean's top at the moment with a 12-point lead with the Kenosha Kickers. He had Isak as his captain, 18, Haaland and Kane up front. I mean, that's good enough as it is. I've not even got onto the midfield and defence, etc. 68 points. Oh, he played his free hit as well. That worked out. Good for you, mate.
Yeah. I played my free hit as well.
How many points you get?
66.
Oh, maybe that's the trick.
Could have been a lot more if I didn't leave Saliba on the bench.
Well, that's why you're 200th, to be honest.
Well,
not 100.
I thought Brentford would be a tricky game. I thought they'd at least concede.
Nice
But
kick around with the boys, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But yeah, anyway, fantasy football's crap. Let's move on. If you have enjoyed the show, guys, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave us a rating or review wherever you listen to your podcasts, and follow us on social media. Right, Tom?
Yeah, T_FB podcast is the place to be. We're sharing happiness. We're sharing tears. We're recapping tips and teams together. We're putting out midweek Twitter tips when there's a schedule and a slate that allows it and is worth our time, rather than the Johnson's Paint Trophy or Papa John's, or whatever it's. Well, they don't sponsor us, so it doesn't matter what we call it. But yeah, T_FB podcast to join in the fun.
Brilliant. We'll be back with a normal show next week with Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two back. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this week's episode. Something a little bit different at the start of the show. As ever, let us know your bets that you've got on for the weekend, if you're backing ours, your own, and if you get any winners. So we'll see you again, same time next week. Bye, guys.